Hey, what is going on, everybody? So today I've made a tier list on my stream the other day, and I think I just want to go over it and kind of discuss why I put things where, and also I got some input. I might even make some changes. So first, let's just go ahead and jump into it. Well, before we jump into it, actually, if you are enjoying the content, make sure you all hit the like button and the subscribe button, depending on where you're seeing this at, or the follow button. So appreciate that. Okay, now let's jump into it. So first and foremost, the best card in the game, in my opinion, is Starmie EX. I mean, just the value you get out of this card, 130 HP. It's a stage 1. It's not too hard to find. For 2 energy, you're doing 90 damage and no retreat cost. That is just absurdly good. You get 2 of these set up. You can pivot between them. It's just so much value in this one card. It's probably the best card in just best solo card in the game. And this list is about solo, right? It's not about, I mean, it's about in general, but like also just like solo value. So Starmie EX is the best in my opinion. Gardevoir EX, I know these next two are gonna be kind of like debatable, but Gardevoir, just the what it does for its, not only its archetype but just any psychic type in general, is huge. You can add energy from your energy zone to your active psychic Pokemon. That kind of energy acceleration is just so good. I mean, you see how good Mewtwo is. Mewtwo wouldn't be that great without Guardy, and there are other attackers that can honestly probably replace Mewtwo EX. It wouldn't be as good, it wouldn't be as consistent, but I mean, anything that comes out in the future that is going to be a sidekick type, Guardy is immediately going to be looked at just to see if it can go with that card. Moltres EX, same thing. It just enables a whole type of energy. I mean, you could play Arcanine EX, Charizard EX, Scorch. You could put it in your Blaine aggro deck, excuse me. I mean, there is no fire deck that Moltres EX could not be at least considered in. So those 3 cards I think are just so much value. It just is insane. Now next up we have Mewtwo EX. Now Mewtwo EX, I know there's gonna be a lot of people saying Mewtwo EX needs to be in that S tier, but in my opinion, by itself, Mewtwo EX is decent. Well, it's above average. It's in the A tier. It's above average. It's at the top of A tier. So definitely is a very strong card, but without Gardevoir, I don't think it would be completely busted like everybody thinks it is. I think Gardevoir pulls a lot of that weight, and it is a basic mon, which gives it a lot of merit. The 2 retreat cost, it's a great card. Don't get me wrong; it's right on the cusp of S tier, but it is not S tier in my opinion. Next up, we have Marowak. Marowak is one of those that is just right now in this format is a great card. It is a coin flip card, but on average you're doing 80 damage at 2 shots Mewtwo. You only need 2 energy to get it built up, and then every once in a while you're gonna hit that 160 damage or 1 shot something. It gets Pikachu, I mean, hits it for weakness. It puts it in a rough spot, so even like a basic baby mon, like even a Sandshrew, can come up and potentially knock it out. So that's why Marowak right now in this meta, where Pikachu EX is very good, and just nothing that can survive a double heads really is like super good, is why Marowak's up here. And it's fast. It's only a stage 1, 2 energy you're swinging. So that's why I put Marowak here. Now, the big debatable one is Pikachu EX. I know it's not at the top of the list, but it is a very good card. And like, I've put the list out and I've had some input on it. And I do think that it's probably here. It's probably here. Now, by itself, well, obviously not by itself, because then it would do no damage. But just the value of Pikachu, let's say on average you're doing 90 damage, probably. But if you're doing 60 damage, it could be considered, less valuable than some other cards. But I mean, for a basic, I mean, most of the time you're hitting 90 damage turn 2, or your turn 2, depending on if you go first or second, and just highly aggressive right now. Yeah, I'll put it in the S tier just because people have been saying it, and I've just been thinking about it, and yeah. So next up is Charizard. Charizard is a stage 2, and when you're I just say stage 2 pretty much automatically puts you out of the S tier, other than Gardevoir, just because of how just much support that card provides to a team. So So again, Charizard being a stage 2, it's kind of slow. It's not really extremely useful without Moltres, because Moltres could charge up the Charmanders, which gets you that 4 energy, which lets you swing for 200 damage, which one shots literally everything in the game. So by quite a margin. So I mean, Charizard is up there, but in my opinion, it is behind the Marowak, and it is an A tier. It's not an S tier. Now Articuno, I don't know. I feel like Articuno could push in front of Charizard just because it's just more useful with Misty. But I mean, this is kind of about just more by itself now. Attacking for 2 damage, 2 energy, 40 damage. That's actually great value. That's actually a great attacker right there. And also the 3 water energy for Blizzard, 80 damage with 10 to the bench is actually so much more useful than you ever think. Now Alakazam is probably one of the most underrated cards in the game. Like, so people were saying it should have been S tier. A tier is where I'm putting it. It's a stage 2. It's a little slow to set up. It can get ran over by the aggressive decks, but once it is set up, it's pretty favored into most meta decks other than Mewtwo. I still think Mewtwo is favored into Alakazam. A good Mewtwo player is probably going to beat an Alakazam player 60% of the time, which is a pretty big win percentage. So then we'll move on to the Dragonite. Dragonite, I think, just by itself, once it's set up and attacking, is just, it's RNG heavy, but man, that spread can even just let something else come up, a basic mon even just come up and just really take over the game. So Dragonite, I'm going to say, is in the A tier behind Alakazam, because I think Alakazam is actually, 1, more consistent, and 2, just a better card, less RNG focused. So that's my opinion. Dragonite. And then Ninetales is, I was playing the Blaine aggro deck. I don't know if you've seen it on my channel, but I was playing Blaine aggro, and this card just surprised me. I mean, it was just one-shotting. It was just turning whole games. The second this card hits the field, 90 damage, potentially 120 with Blaine. It's too much pressure and just too quick of an attacker to not be an A tier. Next up, we got Executor. Executor is super tanky, a very quick attacker. One of the only decks that even likes going first, so you can then evolve and then attack for 1 energy. So I mean, for that, just Executor has to be in A, just because one, it's aggressive, 2, it's very tanky. It has Ericas, it has potions, has a bunch of stuff. And I know this is more like independent, and I feel like that only makes Executor shine more. Zapdos EX. Now, Zapdos EX I am a little unsure about, I'm going to be honest. I think Zapdos EX is more like here. Zapdos EX is good, don't get me wrong, but let's be real. Like, what does it do in the Pikachu deck? Well, I mean, it soaks a hit. It's not super affected by... its weakness is not fighting, so it's great to just put it up there and soak up a fighting hit. And I mean, you're usually not using that 3 energy attack, because you're usually putting those energies towards your Pikachus to do more consistent, quicker damage. So Zapdos, I think, is good, but it just doesn't shine through and do great things to be an A tier at least. Or S tier, obviously. B, we have Venusaur. So Venusaur is like one of those that, like, it's so good when it's set up, but you have to get set up, and that's like a big problem, I feel like. A lot of people love Venusaur and thinks it should be up higher. That's even why I have it this high on the list. Otherwise, I probably would knock it down. Once it gets set up, it's great, but getting it set up, man, that is a task at hand. And then you got Sabrina involved, where they don't even necessarily need to beat your Venusaur. It's a whole thing, really. But Venusaur I will put at the top of B tier. I think it is good. Arcanine EX by itself, I think, well, in general by itself, is actually a good card. I mean, a stage 1, 3 energy, 120 guaranteed. You do 20 damage to yourself, okay. So your effective HP is really 130. That's not terrible. I mean, that's pretty useful. And I mean, when you do put it with Moltres, it just gets extremely aggressive, high pressure, great matchup into Pikachu. So that's why I had to put it here in B. Weezing up next. Weezing is probably one of the top support monsters. People that are arguing it should be an A, and I honestly agree with it. I think maybe it should make a push to A, but I'm going to keep it where it is right now, because when I look at the A list, I think all these cards are better than Weezing, honestly. But don't get me wrong, Weezing is an amazing card, a great support card. So that's why it's even this high on this list, beating out, a lot of EXs. So that's wheezing. Arbok is just such a great card in this meta, not allowing them to switch, two-shotting Pikachu EXs, two-shotting Mewtwo EXs, just making it really awkward for the opponent, and just being a really good control card. That's why I had to put it this high in B, and I know people are thinking B is not that high. It's like middle of the pack. Well, there's all these cards here that are not even on the list because they're not that relevant. So not super relevant. Now I'm sure there are some cards I missed and that are probably quote unquote relevant, but like being real, like it's pretty high on the list is basically what I'm trying to say. And so Arbok is just amazing in the meta. And then just survive and having 100 HP, surviving a Pikachu punch, a natural Pikachu punch without a Giovanni is just good. Greninja, man, people love Greninja. I like Greninja too. I think Greninja is good, but it had to go behind Arbok because I think Arbok's more consistent than it. But Greninja EX has a great ability, obviously a good attack, but again, it is a stage 2, so it is a little slow. It's not the highest damage output, and its impact on the game is good, again, if you can get it out for stage 2, so before the game ends, or you get steamrolled. So that's why it is kind of like in the middle of the pack, but still a great card. Still an absolutely great card. So it could change games completely when it hits the field. Putting 20 damage per turn is just it's just a nasty good effect. If you get 2 of these on the field, don't even talk. Like don't even worry about it. You're probably winning that game. Machamp EX up next. Machamp EX. I love Machamp EX. I want it to be better, and I think it will get better with time as more cards come into the game and there's much more potential. But as of right now, I think Machamp EX is going to have to stay here as far as on the lower half of the EXs. Just because what makes Machamp really good is the pre-evolution line where you can just its attack progression. So like Machop, you get 1 energy attack. Machoke, you get 2 energy attacks, and Machamp, you get 3. So you have like a nice ramp up of attacks, and that's very good. Its HP pool is very good. It's good against Pikachu EX, but then again, it's just about getting it out, not getting ran over, and then having enough HP to swing through the rest of your team. swing through the rest of the opposing team. So next up, we got Frostmoth. Frostmoth, I just think, is such a great card. I mean, even in Dragonite, it can stall out games. 90 HP is deceptively bulky, actually. Does 40 damage, and then for a water and a colorless, that colorless is pretty valuable because you could put it in Dragonite and do like a water and like an electric, or you could do a water and whatever. And just putting your opponent to sleep. Sleep is just so good right now. I feel like it flips so many matchups. It literally makes them a coin flip, which is, again, the kind of the goal of sleep, and I think it just does that extremely well. It could be Mistied too, which I think is just like the top thing with Frostmoth. Is it Mistied too? Okay, great. If I hit a heads on Misty, all of a sudden I'm swinging for 40 damage before my opponent can even attack me back. Okay, Melmetal. Such an underrated card by itself. Man, if they make an item if they make a tool card that just says give this mon 10 plus HP, this is surviving a Mewtwo. What is it? Something like Psychic Blast, the 151. It's surviving Mewtwo by 10 HP. It is doing great things. So I think once tools come in, once just a few more cards come in, once maybe a steel supporter comes in, Melmetal, watch out. It's going to be a good card for a while. Lapras EX, honestly, I think we got to switch these two. Lapras EX, it's a good card, don't get me wrong, with Misty, but 3 retreat cost is just, it's not good. It actually kind of ruins a card, to be honest with you. It obviously has nothing on Articuno, just because Articuno could do 2 energy and attack for 2 energy. So, I mean, it really is the difference in this game. It's like energy ramp for an attack, and then retreat cost is just 3 energy for retreat cost is just too slow, especially in a water deck that wants to, be putting its energies on something useful every turn. We got Raichu next. I think Raichu is just a great option. 3 electric energy on a basic mon for 140 damage. Sure, you have to discard the energies, but most of the time you're closing out games with this card anyway. It's a really amazing card. I mean, one shots all the legendary birds. one shots Pikachu EXs, gets close to Mewtwo EX. If Mewtwo EX has any damage on it, gets knocked out. It's just hitting great numbers. 140 is a great number to hit. Even if you have to discard your energy, then it is what it is. But that's so worth it. Blastoise EX. Blastoise EX is I really want it to be good, but it's just not that great of a card. Honestly, finding Blastoise. It's a stage 2, flipping heads on Misty. That's a low percentage play. That is not going to happen every game. So Blastoise EX, I feel like it is one of the worst EXs right now, but it has the most potential, I would say. If you can get 5 energy on Blastoise, the game is over. The game is over. It's not getting one shot by Mewtwo EX. If you get a healthy Blastoise up with nothing on your bench, you're probably going to win the game with 5 energy on it. Your win percentage has to be 70% at least, which is very high. And then we got Gengar EX, and again another stage 2. There's no search for any evolutions in this game, so it's all luck of draw right now for evolutions. That's why aggro decks are so good. But Gengar EX, once you find it and you get 3 energy on it, the reward I feel like is not worth the risk. Sure, you can stop him from using supporters. 1, there's not even that many supporters right now. 2, 100 damage, I mean, for 3 energy on a stage 2 is not great. That's not great damage. Psychic isn't even a great typing to have for weakness. Like, it's not like Electric. Electric is a very good weakness, or very good typing to have to hit for weakness. I mean, it's bulky, I'll give it that, but Gengar is going to be one of those cards also that as more cards come out, it's going to get better. So you got to appreciate it. It's not terrible. It's not the worst card. It's probably the worst EX in my opinion, but it has potential. It has one of the most potentials for sure. Great control. I love the idea of it. Kabutops. So it's a stage 2, so it is a fossil stage 2, so I think it's a little lower than a regular stage 2 because there is no item search to search out fossils. So definitely had to put it down a little more for that. But I mean, it has a great attack. I mean, 140 HP is a little awkward HP. I mean, I'll give it that. It gets one shot by Mewtwo EX. It gets one shot by Double Heads Marowak. But if you get this setup against a Pikachu EX, if you get the setup, and then it dies to 3 heads Zapdos too, so just watch out for that. But once you get the setup, if you're going up against a dark deck or an electric deck that doesn't have a Moltres queued up, it's almost unlosable, to be honest with you. It's just almost unlosable. You're doing so much damage, you're healing up, so there you go. Sandslash, I had to put Sandslash here because these two energy 70 attackers are so good. And I think Sandslash is the best one, 100 HP. 100 HP is such a sweet spot right now. You're not getting one shot by Mewtwo EX. I mean, you're not getting one shot by Pikachu EX. Mewtwo EX has to use 250 attacks on you, and if you have a potion, you're living it. So that's a really good HP set to have on a basic Mon that you're swinging for 70 damage for. That's a great. Primeape I put behind that because I do like Sandslash more than Primeape. Primeape is great. It's aggressive, but after you have 80 HP to do 100 damage, which is, I mean, that's a great trade-off, don't get me wrong, but then it's a 2 energy investment, so it's a little less tanky than Sandslash, a little less consistent, I'd even say. And I mean, your Mankey could get knocked out. It's pretty squishy, and the Primeape isn't like too tanky where it's just an all-out attacker, right? There's like no defense for it at all. So yeah. So Pidgeot, again, stage 2 makes it kind of tough, but its ability is very, very good. I mean, having a free Sabrina on every turn is extremely good. It is a little slow. I actually even like the 2 energy for 70 damage. That's actually a really good energy to damage ratio to have on this basic in particular. 130 HP. That's great HP to have. But this card's going to get better as more cards come out. As more decks come out, you're going to want Pidgeot on in your deck for just some cards that come out. I guarantee it's going to get better over time. Golduck is one of those 2 energy attackers for 70 damage. I just had to put it a lot lower because 90 HP, again, is just even if it had 100, getting one shot by Pikachu EX is still bad. So I had to put that there. Rapidash is great. It has Blaine as support, and I know when I'm saying, okay, well, we're talking about the card solo, okay, but it has some synergy. All right, so you got to include the Blaine in there when you're assessing this card. And I mean, just 100, a stage one fire, you're hitting for 40 damage, and you have 100 HP. Again, a great sweet spot. That's a great card. Meowth. Now, I really want to move Meowth up. I really think Meowth is a very, very good slept on card. I mean, really, this card can, if you're looking for consistency in a deck, there's not much better than Meowth. I mean, just drawing a card is just such an amazing, an undervalued, underutilized, just ability to have on attack. It's not an ability, but a secondary effect on an attack. So I mean, that's all there's really is to say about that. I mean, 60 HP, yeah, it's low. It sucks. At least it's not 50 HP. I mean, 50 HP is pretty bad. You get one hit by the Mewtwo 2 energy. Aerodactyl's probably in my opinion, Aerodactyl's probably one of the best fossils. I know I put Kabutops higher than it, but I mean, Aerodactyl's one of those coin flip cards that you literally just turn the game around if you hit heads. It's one of those cards like, okay, this game is not going my way. This is a coin flip to potentially turn the game around where I literally have no chance of winning right now. And that's why Aerodactyl is this high on this list. Next, we got Tentacruel. I feel like Tentacruel is a great card. I'm a little under tested with it. I haven't really tested that much with it, but it looks really good. I mean, 50 HP, 50 damage, and then you get the poison too. That's pretty good. 2 retreat cost is probably the downer on that, but 110 HP is great. You're still getting one shot by Pikachu EX, though. Let's be real. Omnistar, a great card. It's just a fossil, which is its downfall, and needs 3 energy, but it can be Mistied too, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good, honestly. I know I have it rated as the worst out of the fossils, but if it gets going, it's good into Mewtwo, it's good into Pikachu. Nothing can really hit you, so just keep that in mind. But underrated card, but it just has to go at the bottom of this list because it's just worse than all these other cards, in my opinion. Next, we got Jolteon. Jolteon could probably move on this list. It's a complete coin flip card. It's a little squishy with 90 HP, but it could do up to, 120. How much does it do? 40 per heads, and then you flip 4, so you could do 160 if you hit all heads. I mean, very unlikely, but that's a great number to hit. On average, you're hitting 80 damage. That's not bad for 2 energy on a basic, but just you're not going to be running this in your Pikachu deck, most likely, because just having basics with Pikachu is a lot better, or just having the Zeeb Strike, or just Voltorb is better in my opinion, just because those basic mons are electric types, so you're able to hit with more damage with Pikachu EX, so just keep that in mind. Lilligant, I feel like, is a great card if we get a very good grass attacker at some point that isn't a stage 2, maybe a stage 1, or even a stage 2 if we get any kind of evolution search, Lilligant gets so much better because Venusaur gets so much better, and Lilligant's great in Venusaur in my opinion. Excuse me. Next up, we got Dugtrio. People were telling me Dugtrio needs to be higher, and the truth is it's a coin flip. Has 70 HP. I mean, that's not bad. That's pretty good. The coin flip is kind of what makes it bad. It could be one shot. It's 40 damage. It's a little lower on the damage side, so I had to put it behind Lilligant because I feel like Lilligant has just so much potential, and then I feel like Dugtrio is just like, okay, this is the card. This will always be this card, a potential wall if you hit heads, and you're hitting for 40 damage. So not like super amazing damage, but take it or leave it. Electrode, I actually do feel like is worse than Dugtrio by itself. The great thing about Electrode is that free retreat, and it can be Lieutenant Surge too. So Lieutenant Surge goes hard on that too, for sure. And there's not really much else to say about Electrode. It hits for 70 damage. That's good. It can be an aggressive knockout on turn. What turn would that be for you? That would be like turn 4. That's pretty good. That's good. 70 damage. That's great. Okay, next up we got Nidoking. Nidoking is not amazing. It's a stage 2, 3 dark energy, 90 damage. If they put Dark Patch in this game, Nidoking goes up so much. it just doesn't have a lot of synergy. I get it has Nidoqueen, but having 2 stage 2s in your deck is just not good, in my opinion. Well, I mean, it's just not good. But Nidoking actually has a great stat line. I mean, 150 HP, 90 damage with poison, so technically 100 HP or 110 if they keep it in. That's good damage. It's just a little slow to set up, and it's not bulky enough to survive a Mewtwo, and it doesn't one-shot a Mewtwo. It doesn't one-shot a Pikachu, so it probably does deserve to be higher on this list. It probably does deserve to be higher on this list. Let's see. I feel like it probably goes here. I feel like it probably does go here. And then, yeah. So then we got Magneton. Magneton by itself, I mean, is good. It's good energy acceleration, but at the same time, the energy can't really be accelerated except to Magneton. You're only hitting for 60 damage. And the biggest gripe I have with Magneton is HP. I mean, 80 HP, that's not good. That's not good HP. I was hoping like 90, maybe 100. But they probably didn't want to make it too bulky of a wall, and like it could retreat and then it could attack for 6. So I get it, but 80, like, man, make it 90. Come on. If it was 90 HP, it'd be a lot higher, I feel like. Anyway, so we'll move on. Centiskorch is one of my favorite cards. It needs that Moltres support to get it going. It has a great stat line. 130 HP is a great stat line to have. You're surviving a Starmie EX. You're surviving a Pikachu punch. You're surviving, I mean, just so much things you're surviving. It's just 4 energies and hitting for 130, and then you lose an energy, so you have to constantly be attaching to the Centiskorch, and then a 3 retreat cost. It's hard to make work. It's a lot to. It's not hard to make work because it works with Moltres, but if you didn't have Moltres, or if you only have 1 Moltres, or if you don't set up properly, it's tough to make work, so I kind of had to put it down here. But I mean, I would rise it up if it had like more consistency in it. Hypno, I had to put down here. A 25% chance to sleep is not. It's just not good. It's not good to me. And that might just be me, but I mean, 2 coin flips for your opponent to go to sleep, and you have to hit both of them correctly is just that just does not sound good to me. So, and I have used it. It's just it 25% is just not worth it to me to have a 2 retreat cost on my bench where it could get subbraided into the active and end up stalling myself. Like, it's just, I'm cool off that. So Kangaskhan comes up next. I feel like this is probably one of the biggest baits as far as cards. I'm sure people probably have had great games with Kangaskhan. 100 HP, 3 retreat costs is the big thing for me. And then 1 energy, you flip a coin up to 60 damage, as low as 0 damage. So it's just the retreat cost for me. It's just the retreat cost is 100 damage. I mean 100 HP and 3 retreat costs. It's like you are not moving that thing, even if you want to. And let's say on average you hit for 30 HP. I mean, that's not even a great average, and potentially you don't. Anyway, so we go on to Kingler. Kingler is just like Marowak. It just needs 1 more energy. It is a basic mon, which is good. And I feel like it is decent. I do feel like it's decent because you're hitting on average 80 HP for a stage 1. The only problem is that 3 energy cost, but you can Misty to it, which is good. So I just put it here. I'm not like too familiar with it. I haven't tested too much with it at all. Snorlax, everybody says this is a noob bait card. If it's used in the right situation against Pikachu EX, it's actually good if they don't see it coming, they don't set up the Zeb Strike and go around it. If you don't start this card and you use it in the right situation, it's a good card. And you could disagree with me on it, whatever, but the second they add Switch to this game in the form of a supporter, which they will add, it'll say switch your active Pokemon to your bench. This card's going to go flying up the list because that's all it needs is just a switch card in this game. Next, we got Victory Bell. I got destroyed by one of these cards. It's a good card. It's just, again, it's a stage 2, and its ability can only be used on basics, but you get to choose on what comes up. So that is like a huge advantage. But, I mean, in my opinion, it's just a stage 2 for 60 damage. I get it's 140 HP. I get that it only takes 2 to attack, but it's just not a great card, honestly. It's not great right now. Maybe another card gets added in that makes it good, but right now it's not good. Nidoqueen is honestly Not good, just because like it makes you have to play a Nido King, and you're already trying to supply energy to that, and then you're putting on the Nido Queen, and then you have a bunch of bulk in your deck because you're trying to get the Nido King set up with the Nido Queen, and I feel like it actually just sabotages its deck because it just relies on Nido King, which I get it. That's like that's the whole gimmick, that's the whole premise. But I would rather just go just with Nido King and Weezing in a deck, if I'm just being honest. Muck. Hold on, Muck is in front of Nido Queen. Muck is in front of Nido Queen for sure. Muck might be in front of Victory Bell. Muck goes right here in between Snorlax and Victory Bell, actually. Just thought about it, and Muck is actually good. I've gotten a lot of use out of Muck, but there's also a lot of games where you don't get any value out of Muck because of how everything works around it. Usually you have an Arbok. Arbok's a great card. You want to put as much energy as you can on there. You have a Weezing. You're attaching to your Weezing when it goes up into the active. And then you have Muck here, who has 3 retreat costs, which is really tough. There's no dark energy acceleration right now. If they add dark patch to this game, watch out. Watch out. Muck's going to be good. I mean, 130 HP, that's a great stat. It's a stage 1, that's a great stat. The 3 energy is where it gets you, and then the 3 retreat cost is where it gets you. Now, it can be Koga's, so keep that in mind. But just for right now, in my opinion, Muck is not amazing. I don't get value out of Muck every time I play Muck. In fact, usually it's a liability. So, next up, we have Vileplume. Vileplume's a good card. Vileplume is literally a single prize version of Wigglytuff, but it is a stage 2. So, that sucks. That's like really bad. But I mean, it does have Lilligant to go with it, so maybe Vileplume, Lilligant might work. I don't know, but I'm just trying to cook here. I'm trying to make anything happen for Vileplume, but Vileplume is just not great. Honestly, I think Golem goes in front of Vileplume. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. I think Golem does go in front of Vileplume, and now I guess we'll just move on to Golem, because that's pretty much all I have to say about Vileplume. Golem has Brock to work with, which is great. My next episode on the series is going to be trying to make Golem work. I think we can make it work. 150 damage is a great number to hit right now. I mean, you're one-shotting most everything. And you do 50 damage to yourself. Luckily, you have 160 HP, so you're at 110 HP. 100 would be a little low. I mean, you could get hit by literally so many things. So Golem is an underrated card, and I'm going to test with it and see maybe if I can move it up the list. But for right now, it just has to be at the bottom. 4 retreat costs is just so sad. It's so sad. Anyway, so we got Gyarados last on this. I'm not even sure if Gyarados really goes here, to be honest. It does have Misty, so I get it. It's a stage 1. It needs 4 energy to attack. Does 100 damage and removes an energy off the active. That's good. That's good, but the only problem is that you need 4 energy to attack, and the 4 retreat cost is terrible. Why did they have to do Gyarados 4 retreat cost? Mans is not that slow, right? Mans is not that slow. Anyway, how does Golem and Gyarados have the same retreat cost? It just don't make sense to me. It don't make sense. If they gave it a 3 retreat cost, I feel like it'd be a lot better. I mean, it wouldn't be good, obviously, or even a 2 retreat cost. It might, but if it gets stuck in your active and your Misty misses, it's just a 130 tank that's getting 2 shot by whatever. So anyway, that does wrap up the list. So definitely let me know what you guys think about this list. Let me know what you think about the future content. See if there's anything you would like to see changed, or any suggestions. I really appreciate. Thank you guys so much for watching, and like and subscribe if you made it this deep in the video. You're a real one. Thank you. Peace.